What is going on, Sharp Football family? It is your resident Swami of Konami, Rich Hribar, and we are in the 11th hour of NFL draft season. Before we get going, if you are prepping for fantasy drafts, our 2026 draft kit has everything we've been working on this offseason. Full rookie breakdowns, position by position analysis, rankings, tiers, so much more. We will continue to update those on all of our analysis as we approach the 2026 season. Go take a look over at sharp.football. And to get you ready for some of that content that we have going on leading into the NFL draft, we have one of the hardest working men in the industry. Probably the only person in this industry I know that can successfully pull off a cowboy hat. He doesn't have one on now if you're watching on the YouTube. And if you are watching on the YouTube, our guest has a phenomenal YouTube. It's at Ray GQ. That's Ray, capital G, QUE. That's his Twitter handle. That's also his YouTube channel. If you are going over to check out his YouTube channel, be pretty cool if you hit, subscribe, turn on notifications for us as well. It's an easy way to kind of keep up with everything we're doing this off season. He is has one of the best fantasy dynasty websites, Destination Devy. I encourage anyone to check that out. Ray Garvin, what is going on, brother?
Rich, every time I see you, it's a beautiful thing, but it's a little bit of PTSD, right? Because our first interaction 4 years ago, I can't believe it's 4 years ago, was at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton. And I was going to show off some of that football playing ability, right? And I got hurt on the first play, Rich. It was the debilitating injury that actually retired me at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I shredded my damn Achilles tendon playing flag football with y'all, but long gone. I'm healed. I'm recovered. So it's the PTSD. It's positive, man. It's always good to chop it up with you. So much respect for what you do, what you've done in this industry, and to get on here and to chop it up with you about this draft class, about these players. And I promise you, we're going to talk some other stuff. It's a good day, Rich. Happy to be here.
I love to hear it. Yeah. And, listen, I tried to keep you in good spirits. I felt so bad for you just because of the traveling, right? Like, I had a buddy when we went to nationals in Florida and he tore his Achilles. I think I was telling you the story at the time. And, he had to wait, 3 days. I had to travel back from Florida just to, even get the process started, having the surgery and the recovery. How's the explosion these days? Is it back?
Bottom percentile explosiveness. It is. It wasn't good before the injury, but the injury absolutely zapped it. But I've picked up a new sport, golf. I'm golfing now, so hopefully I can stay on the course, stay on the field, and play, man.
Yeah, a lot of people this weekend locked into the Masters, but we're locked in to the 2026 NFL Draft. And as I mentioned, Ray, you got the awesome website, Destination Devy, and you guys have an awesome metric that I encourage everyone to check out, the Trinity score. And I don't want to kind of step on you. I want you to lead in, let everyone know what this metric is, how it came to be, kind of the fruition of it all. We got some graphics we'll lead into afterwards and talk about it as applying it to this draft class. But let everyone know what Trinity score is.
Yeah. So basically, long story short, it's a usage visualization tool. All right. I didn't create any new metric. There's no new metric that I created. I play college football, Rich. I played college football for a little bit, and you'll be able to follow me on this, Rich. For a long time in fantasy football, the only people who were able to create charts or really dive into data were folks who were well-versed in coding, or you had experience or some background, right? You've been in this game for a long time. So you know that pool of people who actually could generate and test and look at things, very, very small. And in today's age and time, that's kind of expanded to a lot of different people. So for me, I understand that football is not played in a one metric isolation window, right? You find a cool thing, whether that's yards per route run, first downs. Like, there are so many different components that go into what makes a player successful. So one day I'm just sitting around, Rich, and I'm like, damn, all the dope wide receivers, they do this. I'm looking at this other metric. Oh, they all have good air yard attempts. Oh, they all have targets above. So I'm looking at all these little components, and I'm like, well, there's a pattern here. So what if we just kind of smashed all these together, weighted appropriately? Like, could it tell us something? And I started to do that and track that. And for those that don't know, I live in Texas, but I got people down in Louisiana. Trinity is it's a staple in Cajun cuisine, right? It's onions, it's bell pepper, it's celery. It's the Trinity. And I started looking at these metrics and I'm like, whoa, every receiver that's got these 3 things, these 4 things, they're good and it works. And then I put it together. The R squared in season was 0.90. The year 1 to year 2 R squared is 0.65. And I'm like, holy crap. And it's so rich. It's the same stuff you and me and everybody else looks at every single day, but it's packaged up into one easy score. So I don't need to so many people don't understand that first downs and yards, a lot of these things overlap.
Yes.
A lot of those metrics overlap. So figure that out. And it's just a usage visualization tool. That's it. I didn't create anything new. I didn't come up and pull something out of the sky. Use the same stuff that we've always looked at, put it together. And I think it is one of the best usage visualization tools, period. It's just very easy to see it. So that is, long story short, what that is. From the college side though, Rich, little different because you and I both know draft capital is king. I mean, it is draft capital is king, but there are some other signals that you find from the college testing that can kind of get you to avoid some bad profiles. It doesn't tell you who's the best route runner. It doesn't tell you who's going to be the one specifically, but it really helps you avoid some of the profiles that just don't line up to the things that are successful at the next level.
Yeah, and I love that. And if you go over to the website too, you can actually swap guys in and out in NFL careers. So you can put this in the NFL and you can add a bunch of guys to the charts. You can do that. I definitely encourage everyone that checks that out. Yeah, I mean, listen, when I came into the game and you're dating me here. You make me feel old. You just told me before we got on the show I looked great for my age.
You look good, though.
Like,
you look good, man.
You're dating me immediately 5 minutes into the show. But yeah, when I first came in, that was like my goal. I was like trying to find like that skeleton key, right? Like I'm like, oh, like because that's what sells, right? Like, oh, I've got this. Like I've got the answer to the test for you. And then I quickly realized that one, the skeleton key doesn't exist in our game because we wouldn't have a game if it did. It would be gone. And then I found ways like saying, all right, well, what if I take all the information that's available to us and I started to harness that and use it to the best of our ability. So I definitely respect that. I do want to kind of convert that into, this class, right? How can we apply, the Trinity score come into this class? And I'm probably like, we can incorporate some Carnell Tate stuff in here too. But I think there's enough fire to the smoke that Carnell Tate is number 1 on enough draft boards that he's probably going to be the number 1 wide receiver taken, and by default be the number 1 wide receiver taken in a lot of rookie dynasty drafts when we get there. But we got 3 guys at the top here that aren't Carnell Tate. So I want to start jumping and kind of talk about those guys. I think wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 in rookie drafts are going to have a lot more variance than typical years that we've had in years past. So let's start at the top here because number 1 in Trinity score happens to be my number 1. And it's Makai Lemon. So one of the things that's going on in the NFL right now, and this, with your background, NFL has gone to more condensed offenses to kind of combat the Vic Fangio shells. Cover 4, very popular right now. We're seeing less of that split safety stuff, and we're seeing a lot of the cover 4 where the outside corners, you're a DB, you're trying to funnel stuff inside. We've got an aggressive safety and we've got a passive safety, right? That aggressive safety is keying in on the run game. Passive safety is playing that center field role. But what that's done is it's forced teams to go heavier. We're seeing more 2 tight ends. That slot only role has diminished in the NFL in terms of viability as it translates to fantasy football. Like guys like Jaden Reed and Josh Downs have been hurt by this in recent years. We know they're good football players, but they're just not on the field as much as they would have been 8-10 years ago. Makai Lemon is a guy that played primary slot in college. How nervous are you for him entering the NFL? Is he a slot only? And what is the difference between being slot only and slot plus? And what do we envision for him in the NFL?
I think he is. I think he is. I think at the next level, his best deployment area on the field is aligned on an inside. I'll say an inside alignment, right? Where you can give a player 2-way goes. And here's the thing. If we're being fair and true to what is slot and versus wide, I also think, Rich, and I haven't done a study on this yet, with so much motion, there are so many alignments where the receiver starts out in one spot, but then they shift the running back out wide, and now the wide receiver is now technically a slot or the Rams kick the receiver down. It's just a lot of it. I don't want to call it noise, but you got to know what you're talking about in the confines of the team in which we're discussing, right? Because it deploys those players differently. But it's okay that he's a slot only. Remember a couple of years ago, everybody wanted to buck the trend of Ladd McConkey. Oh, no, he's not a slot guy. He can do everything. And then you look 3 years later and you're like, yeah, he's probably a slot. Like, that's where he needs to be. He needs to align in there. But that's okay. I think that why I'm not as concerned yet, Rich, is because I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's landed, right? The landing spot matters. Not as much from who's playing quarterback or what's around them, but what that team does and how they deploy their wide receivers. That absolutely matters. But his profile and the things that he does well, he does it really, really well. Catch rate is good, physical receiver. And if you go back to Makai Lemon's 2024 tape, he did run outside more. It wasn't a ton, but he ran outside more. I do think depending on where he lands, there'll be some spots where if they do run twins formation, if they are running some 12 personnel, he may not be on the field. But I'm not as concerned about it today because it really is going to hinge on where he lands and how that team is going to deploy him. But everything else is kind of there for Lemon.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me of it, and I don't want to just say just because this player just had an awesome season, but his trajectory in the NFL seems like it has like a lot of overlap to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, Jackson Smith and Jigba coming out of college, basically identical physical profile, right? Like JSN was 6'1", 196, Lemon's 5'11", 192. They both have 30-inch arms, 9-inch hands, right? And JSN, when he came into the NFL, everyone's like, oh, he can only play in the slot. He lands with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. He's kind of restricted to 11 personnel early on. And then this year he gets a chance to finally play, more boundary stuff or outside wide receiver stuff. I'm glad that you brought that up, the difference, because JSN was playing more on the boundary, but it's the Clint Kubiak system, tighter splits, where it's kind of, he's not just out here on the hash mark, right?
Right.
Even though he is an outside, technically lined up as an outside receiver. And if that happens to Lemon like year one, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, well, he is a slot only, and maybe this is a roadblock him for fantasy production. But then JSN, the blueprint, right? Like there's a chance where this thing's fluid and his role could change still going on. So because I think the team's going to use him that way early on, and maybe he goes to a team where things are wide open, right? We just don't know, right? Like Miami. Listen, Miami's going to take some pass catcher here.
Yeah, they got to.
I don't know. They just have to. They have 2 first-round picks. Browns have 2 first-round picks. They're taking one of these guys. I know everyone hears that those 2 team names and they're like, oh no. But these things are fluid in the NFL, especially if you play dynasty. So yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you this, Rich? So for you, because I think this is where people in dynasty get burned, right? For you personally, what are you looking? Are you looking at a year 1 outcome, or are you saying by year 2, by year 3, this is where I project this player to be? Because so many people think that football is like this elevator ride up, like you either go up or you go down. And it's much like a roller coaster. And sometimes you get the superstar players where it's a rocket ship and it just goes up. But by and large, that is not the evolution of the position. Hell, you can look at Bijan Robinson from year 1 to year 3 and be like, this isn't the same player that Atlanta had in year 1. So as I'm looking through my own process, Rich, and the chart that we pulled up, you've got year 1 rates there. And I think for me, I want to know what the players kind of projected to do in year 1. But if anything, that should be caveated big time by landing spot, situation, opportunity. But by the time you get to year 3, Rich, and I know in dynasty, 3 years is probably like a decade as far as a dynasty window. But that is where you kind of really know what you got. By year 3, you know what type of player you have. Either you've got an ascending talent that you can build around in dynasty, or you've got a complementary guy, a role guy, a player that can fill a roster spot. For you, are you looking at year 1 outcomes, or are you looking at, year 1 through 3, year 2, year 3? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I think it depends case by case. I take the cop-out answer, but what did I expect for you as a player to begin with? And like this class in particular, like I don't see like a Jamar Chase level player here, like any of these guys. Like the bar's already moved a little bit, like the puck's already moved. I'm not expecting anyone to come in and light the earth on fire. When I talk about any player that has first round capital, because we're expecting those guys to get on the field, right? Like we're not talking second, third round picks that we're like, all right, these guys are going to have to work for playing time. These guys are going to all play. I'm looking for them to at least translate where they won in college into the NFL and then build up from there, right? Like, all right, you were good at this in college. You're already good at this in the NFL. Now let's see some growth in your game, right? So with Makai Lemon, I don't want him to just come in and do the things he was already good at, right? Like, not necessarily just winning in the slot, but even though he's a smaller guy, like the stuff in his profile that you would say is like a hindrance doesn't show up, right? Like he does win at the catch point.
Yes,
he's aggressive. He's active in the run game, which suits his role in today's NFL. Half the league now is running the McVay iteration of when he left the Shanahan system. And we need these guys to block. They're putting these guys in motion to get on linebackers and using these guys to ramp up. Like a 200-pound receiver isn't going to block a linebacker in the NFL straight up. But if I put him in motion and I get a running start and I need him to run at a guy,
yes,
that's where these tight ends, and we'll get to that, like that's where we're going to see some utilization of those guys. So Lemon, I think, does fit a lot of what the league is running, like where he's already good at. So then I want to see him just do those things in year one and then kind of build on that and have that growth like we talked about with like a JSN. Emeka Egbuka is kind of one of those guys that kind of bucked the trend, because he was like another guy we talked about leaving Ohio State. Like, well, what do we have as an outside receiver here? And was immediately thrown in the deep end because Chris Godwin wasn't ready to start the year. And then Mike Evans got hurt in week 1. Like, yes, we got to put you out here, man. Yes. And he played well until he got hurt and Baker Mayfield got hurt and things. That's like, so yeah, he's kind of the trend. So I just want to see Lemon come in and do the things he's already good at, make the traits I thought were translatable, and then build that on the way up. And like you said, if we get to year 3 or 4 and nothing's happening, like,
yeah,
then we're done.
Right. Agreed. Just wanted to hear your thought process on that one.
Yeah, like I said, it varies, like based on expectations. But another player that is high here is, we'll kind of do this in order, I guess, like kind of as the not as far as the Trinity score goes, but like kind of where the room is Jordyn Tyson. And obviously a lot of people are going to talk about the injury history, and you and I can sit here and say, hey man, these injuries maybe don't correlate, but the fact is we know NFL teams are counting this. Like there are at least some, like it's not like, so does this knock him down? But anytime this guy has played, and I'm very curious to get your thoughts on him as the player too, but as a player, anytime he played, this guy was productive. And unlike most of these names on this list, this guy was not like a high recruit. Like,
no,
out of college.
No.
So go ahead and talk some Jordyn Tyson.
So I tweeted it, and I don't want to mistake it, but if drafted in round 1, he will join a bucket of players who were not like below 2-star, 3-star, outside the top 200 of his high school recruiting class positionally, to be drafted in round 1. And the other names were Corey Davis, Josh Doxson, Justin Jefferson, and it will be Jordyn Tyson, of first-round wide receivers that were ranked outside of the top 200 positionally in high school. So he came out of nowhere. He was a kid that was a 3-star recruit. Brother plays in the NBA, so there's definitely athletic bloodlines there. But he came into a Colorado team pre-Shador, pre-prime, and he led them right away, right off the bat. And you could say it's the conference. You could say there wasn't a lot of competition. But to be a kid, an 18-year-old true freshman to come in and
a terrible team too.
Yeah, terrible is putting it mildly. Okay, it is. They were bottom of the barrel. When you open up the trash bin and you look down there and you're like, "Whew, this is disgusting." I know it's a trash bin, but it's dirty down there. That's what he was working with at Colorado. So for him to come in and sort of morph himself into this, playing alongside a quarterback in Sam Levitt and golly, Jeff Sims, to do what he did despite that quarterback play, phenomenal. He's a big-time playmaker. He's not a perfect prospect, but this was a guy that coming into this season, he was my wide receiver 1 coming into the college football season. I was like, this is the guy. This is the top. What's crazy, Rich, is if you ever want to have a fun exercise, and you've probably done this, Rich, go look at the pre-season 2026 mock drafts, right?
Yeah.
And go look. I'll tell you right now, there was a USC receiver being talked about as being the top dog, and it wasn't Makai Lemon. It was Jacoby Lane, right? You go back and you look at some of those, and you're like, wow, some of these players weren't even on the radar. But Tyson was a guy that I thought coming in could be and would be my one. As I got through the season and started to work through the process, personally, he dropped down for me behind Lemon and behind Tate, but I still think this is a really good receiver. Does he profile like a true outside, go get it X? They're in 13 personnel and he's the one wide receiver on the field? I don't think so. I think he's more of a Z slot kind of guy. But again, good player that in the right system that can highlight some of his individual skill sets. I think he can be good in the usage profile. Outside of my subjective bias opinion, the Trinity and the usage profile suggests that if he gets the capital, which we know draft capital raises a lot of it, it at least affords these guys opportunity. It doesn't make them any better bets to be good, but it gives them the opportunity to get some targets. He's in a good bucket, right? You see the year one, 525 yards, year three, 32% chance to hit that by year three. He's in a good bucket. That's not superstar range, but he's a good player, Rich.
Yeah, I look at him in the top three guys, and then we'll talk about Concepcion here and how close he is to that group. And like he, at least from a college standpoint, has more evidence on tape of winning at all three wide receiver positions than the other guys at the top. And, you know, that instills a little bit of confidence in me, even if he doesn't play like one true spot in the NFL. Could be a problem. That was like a Rashad Bateman problem, right? Like coming out of school, like he has kind of similar like production and kind of like just never found a home in the NFL in terms of playing. Sometimes again, like you play in a run first offense in the NFL and you don't get a chance you're injured and you don't get a chance to kind of blossom. Yep. Justin Jefferson's the opposite, right? A lot of people had these questions about Justin Jefferson coming in, and you know, they played old BC Johnson for a couple weeks, and then Justin Jefferson got a chance to get on the field, and he's one of the best players in the NFL. But yeah, Tyson is interesting too, because he's not as clean as these other guys. And I think a lot of people, when they talk about route running and they think about playing football, they think about it how it looks to them on like a Madden play art, like real rigid. Like this is how slant routes run. This is how outs run, right? Like just on a straight line. Like these dudes are robots. And Tyson gets kind of knocked because he has that kind of that freelance that Stevie Johnson, Amari Cooper. I've seen some Jerry Jeudy's thrown out there with him. But to me, when I watch Jordyn Tyson, his intelligence and processing and his route running shines. Like if you're going to take he understands like cornerback leverage, I think, better than the other guys in this class. And it's used as a knock against him. But if he gets into the NFL with a quarterback that can also read that, like, you know, Mahomes and Kelsey, you think about that. They always talk about like, well, I just did this. And Mahomes saw it. He's point guard, right? Josh Allen just talked about this when the Bills got DJ Moore. And he openly talked. He's like, I don't care if we have a 12-yard out called and you run it 14 yards. If that's you winning the route, I'm going to see it. Right. So there's probably some variance here for Tyson because his play style, especially in this kind of zone-based meta that's going on, you need a quarterback to see the same thing you're seeing. And that always didn't happen with him in college, especially when he didn't get man coverage. Right.
Right. Right.
So there is probably some variance there. Like if he gets like, say like he's a 49er, like Brock Purdy expects you to be here because he can't see over the line. Like he's ripping this because you're supposed to be here. But, you know, if he ends up playing with a Josh Allen or a Drake May, like I'm going to be more bullish on him, I think, early in his career, because I'm going to trust that point guard vision to see, like, because he has that. He understands what defenses are doing, I think, even more so than the other two top guys.
It's a very unorthodox sort of route running style aesthetically for him. And the comparison to different sport, he plays receiver kind of like how LaMelo Ball plays in the NBA, to where it's herky jerky. It's not what you would traditionally think you would see from a guard bringing the ball up, but it works, right? And that's what matters I can tell you Andrew Hawkins was a phenomenal route runner. Ask me how many fantasy points did he score you? Yeah. Right? Not much. Like the aesthetic look of, and this is a big misconception about routes. So many people are so worried about what it looks like. And the real juice is like the deployment. If the team trusts you to run a slant, then that's what matters, right? Not how good you or I think the damn route looks. Tyson is fine. I have no issue with his route running. Yes, There are some areas of defensive coverage that he's got to work on, as does every receiver, but he's a good player. And just because I don't have him one or this player might not, it does not mean he's a bad talent or a bad player. I think he's a really good player, really good player.
One of the guys that we kind of hinted on to is Kevin Concepcion. I'm not ready to start just letting him allowed to be called KC.
He's got to earn that. He's got to earn that, Rich.
Well, I mean, the KC isn't short for anything. It's just short for Kevin Concepcion. So it's like the Spider-Verse thing. Like you're just doing TT. Like it's like we're saying the same thing.
I got you, Rich. Okay.
Like just got to call. He's got to be just KC then, right? Like
or call him K. K-Dot. How about that? No Kendrick Lamar. We call him K-Dot.
But you see Concepcion there scoring really high in the Trinity, right behind Lemon. How close is he to you with these guys? Should it be a 4-man tier? It's universally talked like a 3-man tier, but Concepcion is getting a ton of buzz, ton of steam going into this final month. I mean, how close is he to the top of the group here?
Yeah, listen, data's great, right? I love it. And the moniker I use is trust the Trinity, but sometimes I kind of don't trust it a little bit, right? I don't think he's there, but the production is not subjective. Like I've looked at the production. I see what he's done. There's some thresholds and some tiers. And if he gets the capital, this is going to be really good. Now, does he deserve to be in a tier with Lemon and Tate? I don't think so. Okay. But I think he still fits in a really good bucket. And with his projected capital being a first-round pick, that lifts his individual boat and his opportunity ship up. Good player. I think this is another one of those guys. I want to know where he lands, right? West Coast timing offense. You get him somewhere like San Francisco at the back of the first, I'm feeling real good. I'm like, oh, man, that's an offense that creates yak for any wide receiver that plays in the offense. We've seen that year in, year out. If he's asked to go to Miami at 11 and, hey, you're going to be the guy and you got to go win at all levels right away from Malik Willis, we'll have a different conversation. Like, how equipped is he at doing that right away? I don't think there's a tier of 4. I think there's a tier 1, but the gap between tier 1 and tier 2, I think will be cleaned up a little bit on draft night. I think he's in that second tier of player. And listen, there are some people who have him as number 2 overall, period. Like, this is my second. My boy Matt, I'm going to do a show with him in a little bit. Harmon, he's got him real high, right? Not knocking you because I can see why. Like, he's printing amongst these guys. But personally, for me, he's a tier below Lemon and Tate.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. And listen, great relationship. A lot of people take this stuff all too personal anyways. Like, we're allowed, especially when it comes, this is like my 12th draft class again, we're dating myself. Like, I have no hubris when it comes to these rookies, like, at all. Like, I operate on no level of clairvoyance. I've been humbled. I've been humbled too many times.
Me too. Me too, Rich.
To sword and shield anybody. I do want to talk about the switch conversation over to a guy that is entering the NFL at kind of a unique time for his archetype, and that's Denzel Boston. We've been talking a lot about like where the current NFL is and where some of these guys win. And when you look at the guys that are scoring fantasy points right now, it is these guys that operate with more versatility, when these teams still go to 11, because these teams, we say, 11's going down. We're still 60% plus 11 personnel. Like, it's not like no teams, there's never 3 wide receivers on the field. But what has happened from the 11 personnel boom from when McVay first left the Shanahan ecosystem is no longer we're seeing like that slot only player. Teams now, to combat like what these shell coverages have done, are saying like, man, I'm moving my wide receiver 1 alpha guy. This is where he's getting his 25-30% slot rate, right? Is when we go to 11 and we're getting someone else on the field. Jamar Chase's career is like the example of this, right? He's just completely evolved from lid lifter to when Tyler Boyd left. And now when they go, because dude, you're not going to line up Andre Yoshvas in there. Like, what are you going to do? We got to get Jamar Chase the football. So Denzel Boston is entering the NFL at this time where a guy that is, 6'4", 220 pounds, like, wouldn't be looked at the same capacity as we did like 10 years ago. We're like, oh my gosh, this dude has everything we want. And does, but a lot of people use that now as an argument, a strike against him. And you see people are like, oh, he's Keon Coleman. Like, he couldn't be a further player if you watch Keon Coleman and Denzel Boston play. So talk to me about Denzel Boston a little bit and just kind of his projection and what he does well, how you kind of see it going in the NFL. And then, is he a guy that we need rational coaching with too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not trying to have a cop out here, but I've talked to many former players. We've heard it, we've seen them, we've listened to them. Coaching matters. Like, it does. And you guys do a great job at being able to contextualize coaching changes in scheme and deployment. But a lot of people, it's still hard for them to kind of grasp that just because the player might be good. If they are a round peg and the coach is saying, you're going to fit in my square hole, right? Yeah. It may not work. Boston is definitely going to be team dependent. I think some of his strengths, I believe Carnell Tate has got the best sort of just sideline awareness, like where he's at on the field. It's head and shoulders the top in the class. But I think Denzel Boston, if he heard me say that, he'd raise his hand and be like, excuse me. I think I'm just as good at the catch point. I'm just as good on the sideline. He's an absolute nightmare in the red zone because of his size. He's a really good route. He understands how to win with his body size. I'm not going to say he's this, you're not going to look at his routes and be like, that's Jerry Jeudy running routes out there, but he understands leverage and size, very good at doing a little bit of everything, but he is going to be very much scheme dependent. I know this is going to sound crazy, but just looking at what I track with collegiate Trinity, you want your guys above a 6.5 in round one. Okay. If they're around one, it's almost like an overlay. What Trinity is not doing is saying, this guy, guarantee you he's better than the other guy because of these numbers. But in round one, the first round threshold is about 6.5. So he's a little bit below that. I know this is going to sound crazy, but if he were to fall to round two and be taken at the top of the second round with his production profile, the hit rate actually increases for him a little bit more because his production versus those second round receivers is elevated to some degree. He's one of the fringy ones. I'm not sure. We get to draft night, Rich, and we hear Denzel Boston's name called in the 20s. I wouldn't be shocked. We get to draft night and pick 32 comes off the board and we haven't heard Boston's name called. I wouldn't be shocked. He profiles to me kind of like one of those, they're right there at the top of the second round. T. Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr., like those guys right after day one, you come back, the teams readjust their board. We got to get our big-bodied wide receiver right here in round two. He feels like that kind of player for me. I know it was only a one-play sample, but when you've got 6'4", 210 that can take punts to the house and look pretty smooth, he's an open strider. I think he avoided the testing for all the right reasons for running the 40-yard dash. That's not his game. But I think he's a good player in the right system. He could be effective.
Yeah, that's how I feel too about him, just obviously entering the NFL. I would love to see him have more of a power slot, menu opened up for him in the NFL. The thing is, like I said, we can't count on that. What we want to have happen for a guy isn't what we always want. Like, cause I wanted that for Tet McMillan, right? Like I wanted Tet McMillan to have more power slot, and we're only 1 year in, but he landed with, Dave Canales, who had Mike Evans, and he landed with Bryce Young, who doesn't want to throw that menu of outside targets either. We saw this with Marv too in year one. This is where we talk about landing spot just being so. It does come into play a lot and not just with coaching scheme and deployment, but also is your quarterback willing to make those throws, especially in today's NFL? Guys like Bryce Young and Kyler Murray are not throwing outside the numbers like that. If Denzel Boston is going to be on that restrictive of a menu of routes, we got to get him a quarterback that wants to throw to those targets. Ironically, the one spot I think that people will bristle at that I think makes sense is if the Eagles are serious about trading AJ Brown, because this Jalen Hurts is the inverse of everything going on, kind of with the NFL meta. He's not throwing with timing over the middle of the field. He wants to see the throw and rip it. These X receivers, they're he's willing to throw those balls. Yes. So I think it would make sense. But I don't want them. I
saw it on a mock today. I think I saw somebody. I think it was Peter Schrager had a mock with Boston to Philadelphia 23, and I was like, this tells you how. It's so interesting to bring this up because you're hitting on all the things that I think we, as the viewer, as the fan, as the analyst, as the fantasy football player, we watch this stuff play out, but then we don't know how to apply it to making the pick or which profiles we want to avoid, or just it may be a wait and see. You just said it yourself. The player that Ja'Marr Chase is today is not the same, as great as he was his rookie year. There was an interview where he said the thing that I need to work on is how to run stuff out of the slot. I wasn't asked to do a bunch of that in year one. I got to improve on that. Like, he's a much different George Pickens, great example. His whole career, he lived on the outside and he ran vertical stuff all down the field. And then he gets to Dallas with a different type of quarterback, a different offense. And you see stuff over the middle of the field, crossers, slant routes, more, these things matter. And the player that the guy is in year one, Rich, that's why I go back to, you got to have some year one expectations, but you can't close the book after year one, right? You can't. Even some of the biggest busts we've seen at the position, normally with capital, they get an opportunity in year two. You still get a shot in year two. It may only be a couple of games, but the progression of these players year over year is something worth monitoring as well.
Yeah. Pickens a great example. That year 4, T. Higgins too was in the same bucket, right? Like, was just kind of restricted on just being that prototypical X. Yes. Then he started to, like, hey, what if we use this big guy to run some hitches and some slants? Like, he's gonna box some guys out and then use his size afterwards. That's where I see Boston, because when you look at his profile, and I hate to just keep using the Keon Coleman comp, but like, it's there. It's just a smaller sample. It exists. I just want to see like where that goes. Like, what can we take that ingredient and make it like the star of the dish at some point, or make it something more than what it is right now? Because when he has had to win in man coverage, when he has gotten a chance to play a power slot, when he's had a chance to run after the catch, he has created in those opportunities. Whereas Keon Coleman, like, it was XXX.
Yes.
Check none of those boxes. Is you look at Boston too, because like a lot of people always use like the contested targets for some of these clashers, right? And like, he gets open, right? Like, I mean, only 13.6% of his targets were contested catches. Like, he gets open, and he played with a true freshman 2 years ago and a sophomore quarterback, in kind of a run first offense too. It wasn't the Ryan Grubb offense he was inserted in, at that point.
Quarterback play was interesting to say the least. Damon Williams at QB was,
And that's the hardest thing, even to that component too, in the college stuff. Like, it's just so hard to capture all these variables.
Well, how do you do it? Because there is, Rich, here's the thing. The NFL, the coach's job, like, it is relying on getting the most out of that player, right?
Yep.
At ain't college, man. They are not prepping anybody for NFL stardom or success. And you're going to run my system, and this is how it's going. It's just a different game in college football, and it's really difficult to, we're talking about Boston and Damon Williams. Kevin, or K. Concepcion, had Marcel Reed, and I promise you, Rich, he won't be a quarterback that you're talking about high next year in the NFL draft. Jordyn Tyson, Sam Levitt. It's just, how do you reconcile objectively shaky quarterback play, but then you're trying to, kind of prospect what these guys could be at the NFL with a Brock Purdy, with a Josh Allen, with a Mahomes. This is why this is tough to do, especially at this position. It's very difficult to do this.
All right. Well, I want to, we're eating up a lot of shot clock at the receiver. So I do want to get one guy though, like, because we talk about a lot of the top guys in the first round. I just want to know a guy that, either you're looking at like round 2, round 3 rookie draft picks that just, has raised interest, or someone that you, even if you want to take it a negative angle, someone be like, I'm not doing this.
Okay. I don't know where he's at on the chart that you have, but I rerun some stuff, right? I got an updated Trinity model. The one that keeps it, he's right there, Rich, and I am just so terrified. Chris Brazzell, Rich. Everything looks like he's going to get at least second round capital. He's going to be picked day 2 somewhere. Looks like probably earlier on day 2, maybe a shot to hit round 1. Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt. I get it. I'm not trying to helmet scout at all, but that's what people think about Deontay Thornton. Yep. Everyone keeps telling me it's different. It's different. It's different. It's different. He's right on the cusp of, like, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, okay. I don't know what to do with him, Rich. I am torn. I'm a little nervous. Am I making it harder than what it should be? Do I just, if he gets the capital, you ride with him? Or is it like, Ray, we're not doing this again?
Yeah, I honestly have my hands in the air. I don't know how to evaluate these guys. They're just not asked to do anything NFL that translates it. You just led this in as a perfect segue. Josh Heupel has no incentive to get these guys to be NFL wide receivers. He's exploiting the collegiate rules. Like, and like the way they use these guys, their offensive deployment is to exploit like the wide hashes, right? I want to get athletes that are faster than everyone. I'm going to line up wide. I don't even give a shit. I'm going to tell them not even to block some plays. Yeah. Ray, we talked about a whole bunch of guys that actually are kind of dogs in the run game too, in their entering the NFL in where they're going to be able to get on the field. You know the rules, man. No block, no rock, man. That's what I was told. I was like, you ain't gonna block, get off the field. So I don't know if he's gonna block. I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. Because like Josh, again, you don't ask these guys to do anything where it's like, all right, I know he's big, fast, and athletic. All right, can he play wide receiver? And I have no clue. It's all projection, right?
There's no switch. And everyone keeps telling me, oh, he's coached to walk off the line. He's coached. So I'm thinking, okay, so when the Buffalo Bills draft him, he's just going to hit the light switch. And now I'm going to run. I'll do everything that I've never been asked to do. I'm just going to do that right at the next level. I don't know what to do with Brazzell. I guess draft night we'll figure it out. In that same range, I'm just going to tell you right now, Rich, I have learned my lesson, sir. I have learned. Treylon Burks taught me. Jalen Reagor taught me. Rondell Moore taught me. God rest his soul. Zachariah Branch is a no for me. He's just an absolute no. This is the profile of receiver that the Ray GQ of 5 years ago would have loved. The yak guy, twitched up athlete. You can't out yak people in the NFL. It just doesn't work. I've tried to get on board with those guys and, oh yeah, Moore would do it, Reagor would do it. If that's what your superpower is taking screens and behind the line of scrimmage plays and beating defenders in college, good for you. Good for you, but not good for me in fantasy football. I think for me, Zachariah Branch is just going to be a hard no for me in rookie drafts. I'll wait until it happens if it does.
Yeah, he's a guy I'm willing to let beat me. If you beat me with a high rookie second round pick on Zachariah Branch, God bless you. That's how I feel. That archetype has just been so razor thin to cut with when it comes to capital. Like, yes, you can run into Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill didn't cost you anything. Like, and also like you think of the guys that have hit at this range, the Harvin or Tyreek Hill, like they also had like really strong rushing profiles. And as much as Zachariah Branch has been like a yak guy, like he never had that in his profile at college. They were just like really handing the ball off to him. Even a guy like Kevontae Turpin was a guy who had strong rushing profile too. And like, I worry he's just going to turn into like adjacent to what Kevontae Turpin is doing in the NFL today. Because he's just too small, right? Like, and I'm not like a sizeist or anything, but like, dude, he's 5'9", 177 pounds. Like what are we really asking him to do? So like like especially when it comes to the college sample of you not winning as a receiver, Devontae Smith, I didn't care about his size because I watched him win as a wide receiver over and over. Like this is just like, it's a step of faith that I'm just not willing to pay the price to see play out.
I don't know if you've looked at it yet, but I'll just say, if you get a chance, do a little study on alignment in college with receivers and the ones that play on the outside versus the ones that were deployed in the slot in college. There's not a lot of sources out there that have that information, but if you've got that available, very interesting study about just where they are lined up and what they're asked to do in college and how that translates to the next level. Got to be very mindful with those slot-only collegiate players. Very, very mindful. I'll leave it at that. And very different than Lemon. I think even though Lemon they're very different, right? Because of how they were deployed, even though the alignment. But those slot gadget guys, it just doesn't work out well for them. So very nervous about him. And then I'm also going to sound like the pot calling the kettle black because I look at Chris Bell and I'm like, man, I like him, Rich. I do personally. You turn on the tape and I'll tell you all the reasons why he can succeed, but it's a lot of crossers. It's a lot of short stuff. It's the same type of shit that I just preached about. I didn't want to fall into that trap, but I like Chris Bell. Am I wrong? Tell me I need to reel it back in, Rich.
I've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and I think he's completely palatable because of where he's probably going to be on that fringe. Like I said, he could even go after Zachary Branch in the real draft with the injury. I think the AJ Brown stuff is a little lofty that you see thrown around for him. I feel like that's just body type. Remember, AJ Brown was playing with DK Metcalf, Van Jefferson. Even if you don't, whatever you think about Van Jefferson, the NFL player, Elijah Moore, same boat. Like he's playing with NFL talent and putting up 2,500 yards at Ole Miss his final 2 years. Chris Bell was a late bloomer and fed more kind of, it's not manufactured in the sense you would say like screens are manufactured, but Louisville completely knew they had a dude that was big and fast. We're going to run him across the formation, try to get him, because you see it when he runs routes, like his size is kind of a problem for him because he takes a while. He's like a locomotive. Like he takes a while to get going. So like stuff, I don't know if he's gonna be as effective like running like quick hitches or like that's why they had him running these drags or these like intermediate crossers, because he's ramping up across the field and he's getting the football almost at max speed. And now you've got to tackle this train, right? They knew this. But there's no versatility in this game. Do you know who he reminds me of? You'll probably hate me for this.
Who?
Quincy Enunwa coming out of Nebraska.
Okay. Yeah.
Same boat. Like took him a while to develop. Big body, was athletic, tested well. We didn't obviously get testing from Chris, but I think he would have tested well. But and was serviceable in the NFL, but ultimately like just didn't play enough real wide receiver to get over the hump. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think we'll be with Chris Bell and his development. Is just how does he develop? And he's going to be behind the 8 ball with the ACL injury because he'll be at 10 months. The start of the season. So that means he'll probably be active, but he's going to miss all of install. Like he's not going to be available this summer. Yeah. Like he's not going to be at rookie camp in June. He's not going to be there in July, right? Like doing anything. So it's not just even the prototypical, like, I hope this guy comes on at the end of the season. He's going to be kind of behind. And I already think he's kind of behind as like where he is as like a prospect, but the injury could be a blessing in disguise because it just could knock him down to more realistic expectations. Right. If that, and I think that's what it is. Like he's a guy you want to have, especially in this draft class, to have a glass half full approach, because if it works out, not a lot of guys have that range of outcomes here.
You know where he needs to go to a spot, and I know this is everybody's pie in the sky, right? But if the Rams don't go receiver in round 1, and then like in round 3, they take a Chris Bell, there'll be zero expectation for him to do anything early with Adams and Puka Nacua. But he'd be one of those stashes where if he got on the field a little bit later, people would be excited about him. They'd be like, oh man, let's see what he could do in an offense like this. So I'm with you with Chris Bell.
Yeah, another one of those guys, and I'll cut some stuff off here that's on the sheet so I get you out of here on time. But another one of those guys that I feel like gamers don't know really how to handle or might just draft based on draft capital is Kenyon Sadiq. You see, especially because we've been just blessed with like really good rookie tight end production of late. Obviously we had the 2 great tight ends last year come into the league. Loveland was more of a late bloomer, took him a while. He was another guy missed install, right? Had the shoulder injury, took him a while to come on. Tyler Warren was really good and then kind of fell off as the Colts fell off. But so really great prospect that was utilized on the field for all 3 downs. Kenyon Sadiq takes more of a leap of faith. He doesn't have that great profile of production like a Brock Bowers. You see he can kind of get thrown out of like some games with like Noah Fant and stuff. He is a guy, when you watch him, he is willing to block, but like, Travion Henderson taught us, I think, all a lesson. Like you can be willing to block, but when you have to go against NFL players at your size, there's a difference. When you're a 200-pound running back and then you gotta block in the NFL, it's different. And Sadiq's 240, like he's kind of at that cusp, like he's a tweener. So like, how do you handle a guy like this, especially in like today's NFL where it's kind of transition, where we're seeing like this archetype, like Denzel Boston would have been really good like a decade ago, but now they're losing snaps and not playing every down because guys like Adam Troutman are getting on the field, or Josh Oliver and, Dawson Knox, and they're road blocking some of these, pass catching types. So just overall, where do you feel you are on Sadiq? And, let's just take it from there.
Yeah, good tight end prospect. He's the top tight end in the class for me. Athleticism, at least straight line speed, is phenomenal. Of course, we know that. And like you said, I think he's a great blocker for what he did in college. How's that going to translate when you've got to go up against, Myles Garrett or Max Crosby? A little different, right, than blocking the Fresno State defensive end.
Yeah.
I don't I don't want I don't want anything to sound like a cop out, but where does he land? And not from a standpoint of, oh, he could be the team. I'm not even talking about him being the team starting tight end from day one. But what does that team do with their tight ends, right? How do they deploy them? Baltimore is a commonly mocked spot for Sadiq. Okay, so if he goes to the Ravens, he's definitely not starting over Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, the tight end one there. But can he be a better version of Isaiah Likely in that offense? Sure. I think that's within his range of outcome. Kansas City, I've seen him mock to Kansas City. He's not starting over Travis Kelce. Could he be one of those guys that gets on the field and makes some splash plays for the Chiefs to get you excited come year two? Sure. He doesn't feel the caliber of prospect of Loveland, of Warren, or even Harold Fannin for that degree. He's going to get better capital than Fannin, but Fannin's production in college,
oh yeah,
I mean, you probably should have had some more Harold Fannin, right? Everyone should have had a little more Harold Fannin. He's going to get picked early. So you're hoping he lands in a spot where he can get on the field and get some opportunity. But my expectations are a little bit lower. That they're a little bit lower for his year one production and outcome. I think a successful season for him is to be on the field and be utilized, right? Not be a superstar. There's no Trinity for the tight end spot. Maybe Carolina at 19. I'd be like, okay, like his output may not match his opportunity, but the usage, and that is why, Rich, I think usage is so important to track, man. Because sometimes the production doesn't always follow, but you chase if you're getting the targets, if you're on the field, if you're earning the routes, at some point, variance should say like the production will catch up to how much you're being used, right? May not happen this week, may not happen this year, but if you're consistently used as this guy, at some point, the production should catch up. And he's one where I think it might take a little bit of time for Sadiq personally.
Yeah, I mean, he openly talked about this too at the combine, where he's like, I feel like I do a great job of blocking at my size, but he was like, I know the NFL is different, and I've got to, consistently kind of, get better at that. And he's not going to get bigger. I guess he theoretically could get bigger, but he's not going to be like 260 ever. I always bring up, like they said, the Travion, like everyone should learn a lesson too of still understanding size, even if a guy's willing, when you see it on a guy's tape of asking him. Jahmyr Gibbs is like a guy we love, right? And go back to, I think it was in the middle of the season last year, they played the Vikings, and when he had taken over that cusp of the starting job from David Montgomery, obviously. And Brian Flores was like, oh, if you're going to put Jahmyr Gibbs on the field for 75, 80% of snaps, I'm going to make him block.
Yep.
And he set mid blitz after mid blitz. And to the point where Dan Campbell came out after the game, it was the most like pass blocking reps a running back had in 10 years. And Dan Campbell came out in the game and apologized to Jahmyr Gibbs publicly to everyone. It's like, we should not have put him in that spot. And so like, and I want to pivot that to 1 second. Cause like Jadarian Price is everyone's like RB2 because they're just following the projected draft capital. I've taken a lot of heat. I have Jadarian Price at RB6. I'm gonna tell you out loud so you can drag me too. We have no sample of this guy blocking. He's 200 pounds. We have no sample of when as a pass catcher. Because for me, his out is he needs to be Gibbs or Achane level of turning in explosives. But those guys got on the field early because of what they also offered in the passing game. And we don't have any proof of this. We've got proof of Jadarian Price creating a bunch of explosives, in kind of mop up situations and a stellar kick returner.
I was gonna say kick return now.
He's in a stellar kick return.
Yeah.
So like we're trying to have that translate because we have no touches either. Like this guy's 295 career touches. So I want to know, one, how terrible is my ranking of Jadarian Price pre-draft? And then two, who is your RB2 in this class?
Well, who do you have it to if you don't have Price there?
I have Jonah Coleman, and I want to caveat that by a distant 2-1.
Cool. If you put, as long as you didn't give me like Mike Washington or if you're telling me it's Jonah Coleman, can I just say this? I don't think it freaking matters after Jeremiah Love. Like I'm not trying to be nasty, but this is why I love the college game, because you should have saw this coming, man. Like the RB class this year is just not good. And last year's was very good. I mean, you take a look at Cam Scadaboo, who was picked in round 4. Last year, he'd be the RB2 unequivocally this year. It wouldn't even be close, right? Caleb Johnson is the worst one from last year, round 3 pick. And if he were the prospect in this class, he'd be the runaway RB2 in the class. I don't think it really matters, right? I have Jadarian Price there because I really don't know who else to put there. It ain't Emmett Johnson. I'm fine with Jonah Coleman. Mike Washington drops the ball more than my son does in 7-on-7 passing down here. I think a lot of these guys with running back rich, do you get some opportunity?
Just
right?
opportunity.
If you're going to be in the backfield, whether you're an innings eater, Jonah Coleman type running back, or you get deployed as a space creator, satellite plus kind of back, are you going to get some opportunity? So for me, landing spot, not as much as capital. I mean, if Price goes round 1, great. Like people will feel a lot better about that, especially given the spot. But I'm not going to bury you because I've got no counter, right? I can tell you you're wrong, Rich. I've got him at 2, but then you'll say, why, Ray? Because he's good at kick returns, because in the limited duty, he was good behind Jeremiah. He doesn't catch the ball. He's not big. He's not overly athletic. I'm not going to knock you for it. I'm not going to knock you for it, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost adjacent to the Zachariah Branch comp. Like, I feel like if he's going to cost a 108, 109 to 112, that range, I want to make someone beat me with this profile, right?
Fine.
And my take has always been, I'm glad you said it, it's just been like, no matter what, I think whoever the RB2 in this class is, just shouldn't be a first-round rookie pick.
No.
I think that's where we should all universally align.
I know it's a callous take, but it's the right one. At least where we are today, it's the right one, right? Unless something wild happens on draft night and it changes the opportunity outlook, that's what it is. And sometimes you get classes like that, Rich. You can go back through. There are draft classes where like you just don't want this position. This is not the strength of this class. This isn't the strength of that class. And it's okay to say, you know what? I'm going to start stealing that. I'll let you beat me with that 107 Jadarian Price. If you beat me with that, kudos to you. I don't know ball, baby. You know ball better than me, but I'll let you have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we're just cutting razor margins on guys we don't really believe in, and we've all chased draft capital at running back. That has been kind of fool's gold lately. You know, obviously, Caleb Johnson last year, Trey Benson, Keyshawn Vaughn, a number of guys. So I don't want to let draft capital completely steer me this year. And I feel like a lot of gamers are just waiting to see what order these guys go in. It's funny too that thinking about that, I know when we just talked about Sadiq, man, what if the Rams took Sadiq? Like, they were in on Bowers. We know they tried to trade up for Bowers. And I know they took Terrence Ferguson, but do you remember when they took Darrell Henderson? They immediately took Cam Akers the next year.
The very next year.
And we got this Puka Nacua villain arc happening, which I didn't see coming 6 months ago. I don't know. Like, who's seen this coming? But Sadiq actually does a lot of the shit McVay wants these guys to do. Like, oh, man. All right.
I've seen mocks.
Really? Is that a thing? Oh, man. I thought that was an
mocks
original
with Sadiq to the Rams at 13.
All right. Well,
I've seen it. So
be cool.
It would be the ultimate chess move. And I think fantasy people would, I would prefer, I think that'd be a good spot for him to just do sort of the stuff that he does. It'd be a fun spot. I'm not saying that's what the Rams need. Rams fans, don't crush us, right? Yeah. But it would be a fun spot for sure.
All right. Listen, I'm gonna get you out of here, but I got it. If anyone bristled and rolled their eyes at takes we had here, I'm gonna force you to say something that might get some people to roll their eyes. This is not a show sheet. I like to surprise some guests though with one unfootball related question on the way out. Keep it lighthearted. Yeah, you're in Texas. I'm coming there in June. I gotta know. Give me the definitive Ray Garvin take. The best barbecue place in Texas. And I'm gonna hit you 1 through 3. You gotta give me the best sides, the side rankings for Ray Garvin.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna get crushed if I say Terry Black's, but I do like Terry Black's a lot out here. The best spot is this hole in the wall. This hole in the wall.
They usually are
in Oak Cliff. I'll just say that there's this hole in the wall spot. Oak Cliff lines out the building. You don't want to look in the back, right? It may not, it doesn't look, but it is delicious barbecue. Terry Black's is solid. You can't go wrong with that. Sides. If you're going sides, Rich, are you?
No, I want yours. I want you to rank them, not me.
My sides, go-to sides. I always go something green, so I'll go collard greens. They're always hit or miss. They're hit or miss, right? Probably got to add a little salt to them. I'm not a big bread guy, so I'll leave the cornbread to the side. I like potato salad, so I want some sort of potato salad or a slaw, coleslaw with it. And I gotta have the beans, baby. I don't know if you watch Bluey, but where are the beans, Rita? I've gotta have the bacon, because the beans also have brisket inside of them. It's like loaded. It's beans, it's brisket, so I feel like I'm getting
sometimes the Mac does too.
It's like getting a satellite plus back, right? I get a running back that can run up the gut and catch passes. You give me beans with brisket, double B's. Come on, Rich. I need beans. I need slaw. I need greens. I need brisket. I need ribs. And that's what I'm saying. So I don't know what area of Texas you'll be in, but let me know on the side. And yes, I'm going to get crushed in the comments.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, that's all I got for you. Let everyone know exactly where they can find you, what you're working on leading to the draft as we get out of here.
Appreciate it, Rich. Thank you for having me on. Check out the YouTube channel at Ray GQ on YouTube, and I'm doing a 5-part route analyzation series about usage and routes. The first one is already live and free to everybody. It's the slant effect, talking about how valuable the slant route is for fantasy football scoring. You could find that patreon.com/allgas, totally free. The second part of that article is the go route tax, talking about those sacrificial X wide receivers. That's also on Patreon. And just doing work on the good old X sphere at Ray GQ. You can check out my content there. Rich, thank you for having me on. It was a good time, man.
Absolutely. And closing up stuff here before you go, remember our 2026 draft kit, also live at Sharp.Football. If you're serious about your fantasy drafts this year, go take a look at that. Well, I'll be back next week to cover some more NFL draft stuff. Everyone stay blessed.